Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It's Drew to Smash back at you with another episode of Buffs Dynasties. Thanks for tuning in, all of you that are finding the video. Make sure that you like the video if you enjoyed today's content and are enjoying Buffs Dynasty. Secondarily to that, subscribe to the channel. Giveaway going to be happening to all my subscribers at 2,500, and we'll figure out a way to best do that once the time comes. But just know that those things are on the horizon for the channel. Thank you for your continued support. It is much appreciated. And let's get into the action today. So, we're in Season 3, Week 10. We got a lot of things to go through, so let's get started. So, we'll start first with our coaching skill tree point. We have it for Rico Turner, our offense coordinator, moving up to level 2, and we're going to go up tempo with this one. Help keep our players healthy and increase their stamina during the game. So love that. Enrico Turner now level 2. With that, though, we're going to look at our job security A plus. We've hit our target wins already for this season with 8, and in total, we are 28-7 over the course of our 2.5, almost 3 years here at Colorado so far. Have dominated the top 25, 13-4. Undefeated against our rivals. We've won 2 bowl games, and yeah, we've just continually gotten better, and we just signed a 6-year contract extension with the Buffs, so it'll be interesting to continue to see what happens there as we continue to build Colorado into a college football elite. But next, let's dive into the top 25. So as far as the college football playoff rankings go, you have the Syracuse Orange at number 1, Penn State at 2, Georgia and Florida at 3 and 4. Florida 4. Sorry about that. With those two squaring off this week, so going to be a huge game for those two. And so we're going to be guaranteed to move up after this week at least one spot. So then us sitting at 5 and Washington at 6. Again, we are doing an 8-team playoff moving forward from here on out. So winning our conference is huge to getting one in the playoffs, and secondarily to that is, we want to make sure that we're getting a solid ranking in there as well. And then we are followed by Washington, who we are scheduled to match up with here in a few short weeks, but they got to beat the Stanford Cardinal first. Then you got Notre Dame, Ohio State, North Carolina, Miami, East Carolina, Texas A&M, Michigan, Michigan State, Alabama, Iowa State, Wisconsin, Stanford, Wake Forest, Oregon, TCU, Louisville, NC State, Arkansas, and then Georgia Tech to round out the top 25 of the college football playoff. Let's dive into the Pac-12 standings here and look at what's going on. So far in the South, your Buffs are firmly in control of their own destiny. We even have room to lose a game or two with our head-to-head victory against USC. We're in a really good spot. The only team we cannot lose to will be Utah that last week of the season. That could be very detrimental to our playoff or our Pac-12 conference championship dreams if we were to drop 2 games. If we'd only drop 1 and still lose to them, we'd still be representing. So something to be on the lookout there over the next coming weeks. As we move to the north, like I mentioned, this week, huge game, Stanford, Washington. The winner of that game will take firm control of the North to possibly represent the North in the Pac-12 championship. So, going to be an interesting game there between those two teams. And Oregon kind of hanging out in the wings as well. They lost to Stanford. However, if they beat Washington later and Stanford beats Washington, they do have a slim chance if Washington or Stanford were to make a mistake there. So, but yeah, you kind of see what's going on there as far as the Pac 12 goes. We'll go through the other conferences once we get to conference championship week. Next, let's get into the Heisman. So, Christian Villiau at Penn State continues to lead the way, having a really remarkable season for the Nittany Lions. Um, Last week against Maryland, great game, 310 yards passing, 15 of 19. Also added 24 yards on the ground and 5 total touchdowns. E.J. Smith the fourth, Emmett Smith's son, up there in the Heisman rankings as well for the Cardinal. You got our quarterback Tyrone Moses up there currently at third. He dropped one spot from the last time we showed this prior to last episode, I believe. Then you got Jamarion Miller, running back out of Bama. And then lastly, Branson Robinson, running back out of Georgia. So, interesting Heisman watch race, to say the least. As far as award winners and such go, we aren't quite that close to it. So let's just go through the season stats real quick. So Tyrone Moses currently tied for second in the country in passing yards. Rushing yards wise, Trey House is at 69th in the country. Receiving leaders, Cole Dawson currently at number 3 on the list, and will continue to be that main steady there. As far as tackles go, our guys are leading the way. If you know about NCAA, when your user played games, you tend to get more tackles with your players as opposed to what the computer gets. So we'll just kind of leave that there as that point. Alvin Williams, 3 sacks, leads our team and is at 185th in the country. We gotta try and get more sack numbers, to say the least. Only one pick leads team with for Jay Robinson, and then Becker with his 51-yard field goal ranks 15th. As far as the actual season stats go, Moses 21 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions this year. Much improved for Tyrone Moses here in year 2. Really stepping his game up and becoming that superstar quarterback that Colorado needs to really grow as a team. As we look into the rushing numbers, it's a team effort totally. Trey House does have the most carries, most amount of yards, and touchdowns, but we're getting contributions from a multitude of other players. Lawrence Watson, the true freshman, adding 350 yards and 4 touchdowns on 65 carries, and Tyrone Moses adding 78 carries for 557. So, again, sorry about that. So again, we just got to continue to run the ball with our trio here and get the ball in a variety of other guys' hands to generate that run game. As far as receiving goes, it's Cole Dawson leading the way far and away with 36 catches, 873 as far as yards go, 7 touchdowns. You got Jeff Kelly there at number 2, 33 catches for 562 and 5 touchdowns. Then Eric Olson is our third receiver on the team. However, he is no longer a starter. And then Grant Page having a mediocre season at best. But Austin Smith is our new tight end who's been playing quite well, as well as he's been blocking well. Offensive line not giving up too many sacks. We have 7 sacks given up as a unit. So overall, very good. Tyrone Moses's athletic ability definitely helps with that. But um, Dylan Dixon, Derek Alexander, and Aubrey Smith, the trio of sophomores, leading the way as far as tackles go. With the true freshman J.J. McDonald. So, a very promising sign to see these young players for us stepping up. When it comes to tackles for loss, Alvin Williams leading the way. Alexander second. J.J. McDonald tied for second. Those three are, the staples of our defense, becoming staples of our defense. So seeing them grow has been great. When it comes to sacking the quarterback, Alvin Williams and Derek Alexander tied with 3 sacks. 2 from Mike Miller, 2 from J.J. McDonald, 1 from Carey. Again, when we look at this list outside of Alvin Williams, sophomores and freshmen, this unit is growing together. It's a young unit, and I didn't mean to do that, but it's a young unit that is growing and building what could be a very special unit. As far as picks go, we got 4 players with 1. Joe Robinson, the again sophomore safety, Taryn Taylor, Tyron, yeah, we'll go Tyron on that. Tyron has a pick, as well as Jason Oliver, again sophomore, and Nico Reed 1 as well. As far as fumbles go, we got 8 of those forced. J.J. McDonald 2, Smith 2, Wiggins 1, Alvin Williams 1, Carey 1, Alexander 1. So as you can see, again, the guys that need to step up for us are stepping up for us. From a defensive perspective, we are growing a dominant defense. From all accounts, and it's exciting to see these guys develop, come in, play well for us, and really be those guys that we need them to be to possibly go to a championship level caliber defense, especially with how our defense started this season, this series in particular. Worst defense in the country. 126 out of 126 year one. That's absurd. To be where we're at defensively right now is a credit not only to our defensive coordinator, myself, but just our recruiting and player development that we've had on that side of the ball. It's really been tremendous. Cole Becker, 14 of 16 on field goals, extra points, 32 of 34. Kicking fairly well. Punt game's been effective when called upon. And then the return game, Victor Vinn and Lawrence Watson, both have been terrific in that regard from kickoff and punt returns for that. So, with that, that's a quick gist of what's going on around the country, season stats, season stat leaders, everything of that sort. So, let's get into the juicy part of this episode that I know you guys all love seeing. And I will be touching more and more on recruiting as we get into this. I just don't want to bore you guys with what's going on there, so I try and keep it out of the videos for right now. But we will be giving glimpses of that from time to time. We haven't had too much terribly going on through 10 weeks so far. But with that, let's get into our deep dive recruiting here. So we'll start first with Adam Kelly, who we currently are in first with from Indiana, Pennsylvania. Very good, talented linebacker, good size, speed. Looking forward to seeing what he could possibly do if we can hold off UCLA for his commitment. He is scheduled for a visit here in week 12. But we should be, by all accounts, holding up for him and being able to bring him in. We got Tim Dockery out of Missouri. Again, speed outside linebacker that's going to be able to come off and rush the passer. We got Matt Davis out of Pocatello, Idaho. Again, good speed, really good rusher, encouraged by his numbers here from the outset to come in and be a really good player for us. Also, good coverage. He's going to be a really good, I imagine him slotting in more so in our right outside linebacker slot, whereas Dockery, I'd imagine more of our left outside spot. Just based on their skill sets and everything, Dockery is going to need more time to develop. Um, Either way, both of these guys are going to be more so players long term for us, not immediate contributors. But Matt Davis definitely has a chance to come in and get on the field and contribute right away at that spot and being able to rush the passer and make some plays for us. Corey Myrick, wide receiver out of Welcome, South Carolina, 4-star. Really good. Got some good speed, not a burner, but very much a good and big, possession receiver for us. Going to be able to create some plays for us, and just most importantly, catch the ball, get some yards after the catch, and be that possibly that big number one type receiver that we don't have this type of build in our receiver room right now. We get to next Luke Johnson, who we're virtually just waiting on a commitment on at this point. 5'11", 200 out of New York. Straight burner, the 96 speed, great elusiveness, can break some tackles. Not a great catcher out of the backfield, but we're bringing him in his height, weight, speed, everything like that. He has potential to be an NFL caliber running back. Coming from Selden, New York, as a 3-star, could be a very good player for us to add to our running back room. Next, we get to Dion Anderson, 4-star athlete out of Louisiana. This guy has a lot of potential to do different things for us. Looking at what he can do, 87 speed, not a burner, but good, has good agility, acceleration, can jump well. Um, he will not be playing anything on defense. His tackling, coverage, play rec, everything like that, not the best. What this guy can do is he can play wide receiver, 80 catching, spec catch, 77. Um, Great route runner, can get off press coverage. Very elusive, good juke move, good spin move, can carry the ball, could be a quarterback, running back, or wide receiver for us. But what sticks out is the 90 throw power with the 81 throw accuracy. Built with that speed and elusiveness, he could be a great dual threat quarterback for this program. Again, Tyrone Moses is a sophomore. He has another year of eligibility. We bring on Dion Anderson, redshirt him. He's competing with Caleb Keys in about a year or two to be the guy. If Tyrone Moses does decide to, move forward. So that is something to keep in mind. And again, regardless, this guy's a great athlete that could contribute to our offense and be a big time playmaker for us regardless. Next, we move to our kicker. We need to pick up somebody to replace Mr. Becker. And our guy that we're looking at is Justin Dotson. 77 kick power, 75 accuracy. Not the greatest numbers in the world, but he can kick it far enough and accurate enough that it will work for us. So, we are in the lead for him, so looking to bring him in. Next, we get to Travis Collins, a 6'6", 275-pound athlete out of Towson, Maryland. And this guy has the potential to be a blocking tight end, and does have fairly good route running. Would need to work on some other things. He will not be a tight end for me, however, because of his speed, and we'll look to more slot in on our offensive line with his strength and acceleration and be able to be a body mover that way for us. So, most likely going to come in and play offensive line for us is Travis Collins. Next, we get to Lamont Pittman, a JUCO 6'1", 250-pound fullback from California. And this guy's got good athleticism, good strength, going to be able to run, block, and be kind of a utility fullback for us. Again, could lead to a possible NFL career at fullback with how I believe this guy could develop for us. So I like what I see here out of Lamont Pittman and how he could grow. We're battling with Stanford for him currently. Next, we get to TJ King, a 6'8", 312-pound tackle out of Florida. This guy's got it all. Great pass blocker. He's going to probably slot in as a left tackle. Overall, really good. And Arizona State's really coming after him against us. So we hope that he ends up as a Buff and not a Sun Devil. So next, we move to Ricky Bernard, 6'3", 321 tackle out of Santa Ana, California. And again, just a really good player. Does need to develop and hit the weight room a bit more. Has the size and speed that we're looking for. Again, probably going to slot in at guard, possibly center for us, and contribute there pretty early on, possibly. Next, we get to Gary Scott out of Woodward, Oklahoma. 6'7", 301. Again, just a nasty guard. Wants to come off and rip your head off from that O-line spot. Could possibly move out to right tackle for us, just based on his attributes, size, and everything like that. So, but we're currently battling with Oklahoma to try and get his commitment. So we'll see how that continues to progress with Gary Scott. Next, we move to Chris Stewart out of Santa Ana, California, 6'5", 255. Really great defensive end. We'd love to bring him in, pair him with J.J. McDonald, and we have our two ends of the future that are going to be able to get after the quarterback and make some plays. So we're currently behind Michigan a little bit for him, but we're still battling to try and seal his commitment and make him a Buffalo. Next, we move to Charles Merville out of Crete, Nebraska, 6'4", 291. Again, this guy would be a great nose tackle for us, building more depth on that D line, and also has the ability to get after the passer and cause some havoc in there. So, battling with Nebraska to be expected for him. But we like what we see there from Merville, and hopefully he'll end up in Boulder. Next, we move to Colin Long out of Duncan, Oklahoma, middle linebacker. Good speed, great acceleration, will come down, make tackles, hit you, also fairly good in coverage, and we're in the lead for him over the Air Force Academy as well as Oklahoma. So would love to get him, bring in the depth, speed, get more athletic at our linebacker spot, and start to develop a little bit better there to help our defense out long term. All right, now we start to move into some of the fun prospects that we're going after, specifically kind of these next three ring a bell. All right, we'll start first with Richard Romero, the 6'6", five-star athlete out of Louisiana. We're down quite a bit of points right now, but we're still fighting to try and get this guy's commitment. 92 speed at that height and speed and everything. He's coming in based on us finding Dion Anderson. This guy, he'd be a fun quarterback to have, but he's a wide receiver at the end of the day. Is his best position, and this guy would come light up the scoreboard with Tyrone Moses immediately if we're able to solidify a commitment from him. So we'd love to bring in Richard Romero to be that mammoth body with speed and create some big time mismatches for our quarterback. Next, we get into Caleb Jean, the number one athlete in the country, the number one player, period, in the country at 6'5, 248 pounds, 5-star out of Utah. This guy is a pass rusher. He's an outside linebacker. It's not the fastest, but he's got good strength. He can cover well. He will tackle, as well as he does have great block shedding, as well as power moves. He can be a huge difference maker for us at outside linebacker, coming off the edge and getting after the quarterback. So we're fighting Georgia for his services right now. But yeah, we would love to get this guy to come in and be a pass rusher for us. Next, we get Ernest Tyson, 6'3", 220, out of Overland Park, Kansas, the 22nd athlete in the country. Again, good speed, good catching, good coverage. This guy could possibly come in and play safety and or wide receiver for us with his height, weight, speed. So we'll have some versatility with him if we're able to solidify his commitment and make him a buff. So hopefully we can continue down the right track for Ernest Tyson. Next, we get to George Covington, 6'5", 309 tackle out of Pike Creek, Delaware. And this guy, a gem. We plucked him out of the depths of this recruiting class. We like what we see. Good overall offensive lineman that hopefully we can continue to look to bring him in and develop him to be a really good lineman for us. So like what I see from George Covington. Next, we get to Jeff Mullins, middle linebacker out of Clemson, South Carolina. Syracuse going in heavy on him. So we're battling with them for him. But 83 speed, 83 strength, good tackle. He's going to come up and hit you, as well as good man coverage. Great athlete, and a little bit smaller size, but makes up for it with his speed and tenacity, as well as strength. So would love to get him in there and make him a tackling machine in the middle of our defense. Next, we get to Donald Harris. Love the kind of ability that this guy has. As you can see, that is no joke. 6'7", 214 pounds, safety out of Kentucky. Not the fastest guy, not the strongest guy, but he's great in coverage, and he will stick you with that 93 hit power. And he's great in zone coverage, fairly good in man. But yeah, I love the look of this guy. To have that type of height on your back end, it seems pretty promising to get a lot of picks with Donald Harris, as well as he's going to come up and stick you and hopefully force some fumbles for us too. So love what we see there, and hopefully we'll bring him in by National Signing Day. We get to Joel Stewart next. God, I keep butchering these names. My apologies, guys. Joel Smart, 6'2", 200 pound, 4-star athlete out of Delaware. And this guy, great speed, agility, acceleration. Again, much like Ernest Tyson, has the ability to do multiple things for us based on where we see him fitting into the team best. So because of that, we love what we see from Joel Smart, and would love to bring in that type of versatility to our roster. And lastly, we got Tony Peterson on the board as a wide receiver. 91 speed, good catching. Again, kind of a smaller type build, but very much like Myrick as far as skill set goes. We're just having him there as a reserve type player. assuming that some of these other commitments don't come through, and staying in a pretty good standing with him. So, like what we see there. Lastly, just again, we'll cover the commitments one more time. We have 4 players committed so far. Zach O'Neal, the tight end out of Colorado, 4-star, 6th-ranked tight end in the country. Looks really good, good athlete. Really looking forward to what he can do there for us. We got Travis Nichols out of California, defensive end, who is already committed, who's going to be a great player for us. Josh Thomas, 6'3", 275 out of California. Again, good D tackle. Going to be some really good depth behind Matt Miller to continue to rush the passer, and could be more of a little bit of a pass rush specialist for us, as opposed to just a pure nose guard based on his height and weight there. And then lastly, Anthony Moore, 5'11", 175, corner out of Arizona. Not the fastest guy, but really great technically, in coverage, and going to be able to make some plays for us in the secondary. We're glad to have him to continue building the depth in that cornerback room. So that's where we're at as far as recruiting goes. As you can actually, Caleb Jean is the 3rd-ranked player in the country, not the first. Sorry about that. Misspeak there, as far as what his ranking actually is. But as you can see, the number 2 player, number 1 quarterback, Mike Lewis, is going to Michigan. And Scott Stegall, the number 4th-ranked player, going to Syracuse. Mike Horn going to UCF, and Sean Clemens going to Ohio State. And that kind of ranks your top 10 players in this recruiting class. With that, though, with our 4 commitments that we do have that are all 4 stars, we're currently at the 22nd ranked recruiting class in the country. The top 5 is as follows. You got Texas there at number 1 with their 11 commits. Syracuse, I'm giving huge props to Dino Barbers, assuming he's still the coach there. But Syracuse has been doing a hell of a job, not only winning games, but they're recruiting at an extremely high level. 3 5-stars, 3 4-stars, 6 players that are a 4 or 5-star type player. Like that's, and then assuming that they're looking to add more, right? They're building a legitimate program up there in Syracuse, New York. So we'll continue to monitor how Syracuse does, but they're kind of the dream team in this dynasty right now. You got Wisconsin sitting at 3, Notre Dame at 4, and Nebraska at 5. So you got 2 Big Ten teams. You got, of course, Notre Dame recruiting at a high level, Syracuse, and then Texas as well, followed by North Carolina, Miami, Penn State, Florida State, and BYU. Overall, the ACC having a really good year recruiting-wise so far this season, with 4 teams ranked in the top 10. As we sit here in Week 10, it'll be interesting to see where those teams finish. But with that, that's Week 10 in a nutshell. We're going to advance the week here and see what happens. And that's going to be the bye week, guys. So as we're advancing here to next week, where we are going to take on, I forget exactly who we're playing, but we'll be taking on a team next week, and with that also is going to be some great gameplay. We'll keep you up to date. We'll see if we get any recruiting news here real quick before we take on the Bruins next week and end this episode. But with that, I'd like to take this time. If you like today's video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and son of a gun. Alright, well, yes, like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's all I ask. It's free to do. So if you would do those things, I'd greatly appreciate it. So Chris Stewart, the defensive end does commit to Michigan. That is a blow to our recruiting class. Hate to see it, but he figured Ann Arbor was the place for him to go. We do get our commitment from Luke Johnson, the running back, and then we do have a few recruits that are ready to visit. So with that, we'll get that all squared away before the UCLA game. But we move up to the fourth ranked team in the country after Georgia destroying Florida. Big win for the Bulldogs. But we move up to 4. Florida loses. Washington lost to Stanford. Stanford gets her done. Big win for the Cardinal. Big win for the Cardinal there, as their only loss was to us so far. So, with that, yeah, we got an interesting kind of Pac-12 shaping up here, and the college football playoffs starting to get tight as well. So, gonna see what kind of transpires here. It'll be interesting. So, with that, again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Drew Smash signing off for week 10 here in season 3. Hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you guys in the next one when we take on the UCLA Bruins. And with that, take care. Peace out.